Jujutsu Kaisen, one of the hottest shows in the anime space as of late, with one of the hottest mentors.
Did you ever think that maybe there's more to life than being really ridiculously good looking?
Gojo-Satoru, one of the best characters I've ever experienced in anime. Normally I would just say this as an opinionated statement, but that's not today's video because this is a cold hard truth. I think Jujutsu Kaisen is a really great show and I loved the first season, but what this anime is doing in season 2 with Gojo puts it in a completely different tier of television. The first season of the show was an excellent vanilla ice cream. There wasn't too much I was shocked by, but nonetheless, it was still incredibly enjoyable. Which I only bring up because if it was just that for a second season, I would have no issue. I like Demon Slayer, and it's basically a really good milkshake with a little treat at the bottom for 3 seasons. But the manga nerds were touting, "You're not ready" for Jujutsu Kaisen for about 2 years. So what could make it that special? So in season 1 we got Gojo and everybody adored him. So what do you do with a beloved character like that? You take notes from Big Bang Theory and suddenly season 2 is young Gojo. The fanbase saw young Gojo and went,
Very hot and real thirsty.
Speaking of which, how old is Gojo in this backstory?
Moving pretty quick there. Why don't you have a seat right over there?
Gojo as we know him in season 1 is smooth, cocky, goofy, and above all else is an incredibly strong individual. So to rewind the clock to show him have all of these traits but not the same level of cheat code strength is a brilliant feat, because despite him possessing little mastery of his technique, that's still Gojo that's there. And more importantly, we see him as a mentor to a younger generation. But now in this backstory, we instead get him being menteed with Geto, and I think this relationship is possibly the best friendship I've seen portrayed in anime. There's just something almost unexplainable about how well Geto and Gojo work together. They've just perfected 2 idiots taking on the world by themselves. They understood the Thelma and Louise blueprint. And it's not just how well they work together, it's the particular segment of Gojo's backstory that they decide to show. If everything went the way both these two thought, they'd be traveling outlaws touring the world beach episode by beach episode. And this is what I think Itadori is also learning in present day. The world can be cruel and you can't conceivably save everyone. Gojo and Geto are incredibly strong, but they also have an immense amount of hubris, which is fundamentally shifted at the start of season 2.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half. And now.
My point in talking about this particular instance is this is the exact opposite of what we typically expect to happen to a shonen protagonist. The blueprint is you overcome difficulties, save your friend and the girl, the world is saved. Instead, despite some difficulties being overcame, both Geto and Gojo get absolutely mollywopped in their round 1 of their fight. They literally interrupt the beautiful end song, mid-song, to ruin your dreams. If One Piece gave us the iconic "I Want to Live" from Robin, instead here we got the iconic "You Will Die" from Toji. To top it all off, Gojo's comeback doesn't feel like this heroic return, but instead is more in line with something we'd see from a villain origin. Which is interesting, because Geto and Gojo are playing the inverse to what we would expect knowing their characters in present moment, in that Geto is evil, and Gojo, while chaotic, seems heavy in the good camp. But instead, their roles are blurred. It's Geto that pulls Gojo from killing dozens of people, and in fact, throughout the entire arc, it's Geto that is trying to stay on the right path in a cruel world. There's something fascinating about how Geto is the one who sees the world so hopelessly, and yet he's the one who keeps Gojo from the path of evil. Even more interesting about this arc is you can definitely make the case that Geto is the main character, not Gojo. He is given way more screen time to flesh out his character, and most importantly, he is also given way more heroic moments than Gojo. The reason I like this choice is because it centers a prequel around a character we have no reference for besides evil, and then provides us way more context for how much of a burden Geto carried before ultimately deciding there was no other choice in his mind to protect his own. And the cherry on top is the phrase, Gojo-Satoru is the strongest. With the added context of Shibuya and Gojo being sealed, I finally had all the pieces to Gojo's character. When he was born, the world shifted, as there was now a beacon of strength against evil. Everything clicked with this added context. That's a weighty phrase to shift the world, and in Hidden Inventory, while we know Gojo is very strong, he is never referred to as the strongest until the end. Instead, he and Geto call each other the 2 strongest sorcerers. And it wasn't until I saw everyone else from Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 agree on the same phrase that Gojo is the strongest, that it clicked that hidden inventory is not about how these two became how they are, but more specifically how they stopped believing this lie. The world knew from birth Gojo had otherworldly strength and likely was treated as such for his entire life. But instead, here he has a partner in Geto. Toji didn't just break their spirits, but he destroyed their bond on this lie. Geto can no longer stomach the lie and recognizes him as the strongest just like everyone else. And in a heartbreaking display in front of a KFC, he says this.
君は五条悟だから最強なのか、最強だから五条悟なのか。
Which in that moment is sad enough, but now watching this back, it instead reads way more painful. Gojo is alone because he is a Superman-like deity with no one close to him. He's so strong that the demons of the world hid in fear because he was born. He has no easy weakness except Geto. Gojo being sealed is really interesting because in the blueprint of Superman, his weakness has usually been a kryptonite or Lois as a damsel, whatever. And here, Jujutsu Kaisen flips that second option on its head. Instead of Geto being a weakness as a damsel, he's a weakness of shock. His best friend reborn in front of him, and it all comes rushing back. For a brief moment, he isn't alone again. Geto being Gojo's crack after everything we've seen these two go through, and Gojo once brought back to reality knows the man before him isn't that same person.
映る情報はお前をゲトスグルだと言っている。だが。 俺の魂がそれを否定してんだよ!
Has your friendship ever been strong enough it literally alters the fate of the universe? Who hasn't been there, fellas? Later, haters.
If it's funny, it's Bazinga.